After spotting a stranded dolphin begging for help, a little girl helps return it to the sea, and the miracle that follows leaves everyone speechless. In a small coastal town along the Atlantic shore, where the ocean cradles ancestral memories, and the salt-tinged breeze seems to carry whispers of forgotten times, an unlikely episode bridges the innocence and courage of a young girl with the vulnerability of a creature from the sea. Catherine, a girl with a gentle gaze and a heart wide open, would often stroll the beach at dusk when the sky glowed in warm hues and the last rays of sunlight signaled day's end. During one of these twilight walks, she stumbled upon a dolphin, stranded on the sand, clearly exhausted. Its shimmering skin bore the marks of struggle, as though it had fought fiercely against the very forces of nature. Its eyes, silently pleading, searched for anyone who might understand its distress. It was at that moment that a palpable bond formed between the girl and this ocean dweller, forging a mystical link that went beyond any mere instinct to save a life. The sun had already begun to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in brushes of orange and purple. Catherine felt the sand, still warm beneath her bare feet, as she wandered the deserted strand. The sea breeze tossed her brown hair about and carried the unmistakable scent of salt and kelp. It was her favorite time of day, a moment when the world seemed to slow, allowing the ocean's secrets to be heard by anyone patient enough to listen. Suddenly, a strange sound broke the peaceful hush of evening, a low, soft cry of pain, hardly noticeable but loaded with sorrow. Catherine quickened her pace, following an instinct she could not explain. The cry grew clearer as she came nearer, a lament that seemed to emanate from the ocean itself, as though the waves grieved for a lost child. Her heart pounded, driven by a mix of curiosity and concern that propelled her forward. She rounded a small rise of sand and froze in her tracks, her breath catching at the sight before her. A dolphin, its gray, glossy body stark against the golden beach, was feebly thrashing, trapped away from the life-giving water it so desperately needed. The robust form that would normally glide and leap gracefully beneath the blue surface now seemed defenseless on land, exposed to air for which it was never intended. The scuffed sand around it bore evidence of desperate efforts to reach the water, like entries in a journal, chronicling a silent struggle for survival. Catherine's breath halted for what felt like an eternal second. Her eyes locked with the marine mammals, and in that brief exchange, something profoundly inexplicable occurred. It was as though the world around them fell away, leaving only a fragile bridge between two beings, so distinct, yet so similar in their shared spark of life. It felt like an unseen current of mutual comprehension flowed between them. The young girl sensed the creature's despair overflow into her own heart, absorbing the anguish of this fight for survival as if it were her own. She could feel the dolphin's fear, its confusion at this sudden misfortune, the pain from long hours under the unrelenting sun, the growing weakness of a body parched and spent. Above all, she perceived, with an almost otherworldly clarity, its silent cry for help, an appeal that transcended language and species, speaking soul to soul. The dolphin gave another call, louder and more urgent, a series of clicks and whistles that resonated not just in the salty air, but in the girl's chest, as though it were thanking her for finally arriving, for being able to sense its secret language. Filled with compassion and resolve, Catherine recognized how urgent each moment was for this sea creature's life. Simultaneously, her friend James, who had grown up with her and possessed a deep affinity for coastal lore, suggested the dolphin's appearance was no coincidence, but a sign of powers that governed the sea. James recalled local fishermen's tales of marine creatures appearing to herald renewal, and soon the town buzzed with the news, stirring up a wave of hope and mobilization. The whole community, touched by this fateful encounter, pulled together to save the dolphin from a grim fate, transforming a likely tragedy into a genuine movement of solidarity and faith. "Don't struggle too much," Catherine whispered, stepping toward the animal with the deliberate care of someone treading on fragile crystal. Each step was guided more by intuition than logic. Her voice, though hushed, carried a warmth that seemed to enfold the dolphin like a protective shield. "I'm here now," I promise I'll get help." Her words flowed softly like an ancient lullaby, a consoling chant that appeared to ease the dolphin's anguish. The dolphin's taut body relaxed slightly, its dark, shining eyes fixed on the small figure before it, as though perceiving an ally instead of a threat. Catherine felt a tremendous responsibility settle upon her young shoulders, an acute awareness that this life depended on what she did next. Her heart hammering away in her chest, she backed up a few steps and reached into her small bag for her cell phone. Her hands quivered, urgent and emotional, yet her voice held steady, as though guided by an unexplainable courage as she called James, relaying the seriousness of the situation. "I need you, James, right now. It's a dolphin. He's stranded on Lighthouse Beach near those big rocks. He looks like he's in really bad shape." There was an unusually firm tone in her voice, enough that James immediately grasped the gravity of what was happening. Within 15 minutes, an eternity to Catherine, 17-year-old James, known throughout town for his uncanny rapport with sea life, arrived at the beach. He had sprinted the entire way from his home near the fishing docks, disregarding fatigue and the sweat running down his tanned face, furrowed from many hours in the sun and salt air. His normally placid dark eyes widened at the sight of the dolphin, his features revealing both reverence and concern. "It's a bottlenose dolphin," he murmured, kneeling at a respectful distance, aware of how best to approach a distressed marine mammal. His motions were slow, almost ceremonial. An adult male by the look of him. Probably got caught at low tide or thrown off course by some disturbance in the currents. Maybe an underwater blast, or a ship engine that was too loud. His calm assessment radiated a confidence born of countless hours spent learning from his grandfather, one of the area's most respected fishermen. The old man had instilled in James not just fishing and navigational skills, but a profound respect for the creatures that inhabited what he called the other world, lying just below the ocean's reflective surface. Without delay, James took off his faded cotton shirt and dashed to the water's edge. He soaked it thoroughly in the cool surf, then hurried back and gently draped the damp cloth over part of the dolphin's body, an improvised shield against the dry air threatening its skin. "My grandpa always said," he went on, working carefully, his tone solemn as though reciting a timeless truth, "that when a dolphin willingly comes to shore, it carries a message from ancient spirits of the sea, secret guardians who have ruled the depths since ages past. Catherine, it's not just chance that you were the one to find him at this very spot, at this very moment." Catherine's eyes glowed with a mix of wonder and worry. "What kind of message?" "Renewal, transformation. Dolphins are considered guides between worlds, swimming through conscious and subconscious realms alike," James said in all seriousness. He had grown up believing the old-timers' lore. "We need to help get him home." While James gently moistened the dolphin's skin, he called on more friends and neighbors for assistance. Word spread like wildfire across the small seaside town. In less than an hour, the once deserted beach was thronged with volunteers, fishermen still in their work clothes smelling of fish, curious children kept at a safe distance by anxious parents, elderly folks shaking their heads knowingly. Among them was Miss Constance, an older woman whose white hair and age-lined face belied the youthful spark in her green eyes. Widely known for preserving the oldest legends of the area, she walked slowly with the help of a sturdy wooden cane. Approaching Catherine, she rested a wrinkled hand on the girl's shoulder. "The child who speaks to the ocean's offspring," Ms. Constance said, her voice carrying the distinctive lilt of old coastal families. "No wonder it was you who found him." As the news continued to spread, experts from outside the town converged on the scene. Marine biologists, veterinarians, and even local elders versed in age-old traditions came together to assess the situation and plan a rescue. Leading the group was Dr. Elizabeth Tucker, whose balanced, holistic view convinced everyone that the response had to be more than just practical. She argued that the dolphin's encounter with Catherine bore deep symbolic weight, a message of healing and transformation for the community at large. Emboldened by this perspective, Catherine, guided by James and the specialists, stepped up to direct the delicate rescue. Quietly, she communicated with the dolphin through gentle gestures and soothing words, creating a setting where science and spirituality mingled and pooled their strength, speeding the dolphin's recovery. A light buzz of conversation drifted over the gathering, which was then hushed by the arrival of a jeep from the state university. 3 people hopped out, carrying equipment and a folded portable pool. Leading them was Dr. Elizabeth Tucker, a marine biologist noted for her work preserving sea life. She approached with a swift confidence, her gaze swiftly taking in the scene. "Who found the animal?" she asked while adjusting her red-framed glasses. Catherine stepped forward, hands clasped in front of her in an unconscious display of nerves. "I found him, doctor, nearly 2 hours ago." Dr. Tucker offered a kind smile, noticing how the UA girl had kept the dolphin's skin damp. "You've done a wonderful job so far. What's your name?" "Catherine. And this is my friend James. He's very knowledgeable about sea creatures." The scientist nodded at James, then knelt beside the dolphin. With smooth, careful motions, she examined it, checking its eyes, breathing, and skin. Meanwhile, her assistants began setting up the inflatable pool a short distance away, filling it with water hauled from the ocean in buckets. "It's an adult male, seemingly healthy, with no visible exterior injuries," she announced after a few minutes. "He may have been disoriented by underwater noise pollution, or by following fish too close to shore." A murmur ran through the onlookers, now forming a respectful half-circle around the rescue site. Dr. Tucker stood and faced them with a serious expression. "We need to get him back into deeper water as soon as possible, but carefully. He's under a lot of stress and very dehydrated. First, we'll transfer him into this inflatable pool so he can stabilize. Then we'll plan his release." That was when Ms. Constance stepped forward, her eyes locked on the dolphin. "There's more going on here, doctor," she said. "This meeting wasn't by chance. This girl," she pointed to Catherine, "has a special calling, and that dolphin chose her." The scientist opened her mouth to rebut, but something in the older woman's gaze made her pause. Turning to Catherine again, Dr. Tucker scrutinized her more closely. Indeed, there was an uncommon serenity about the child, an almost tangible bond between her and the marooned dolphin. "Perhaps," Dr. Tucker said at last, surprising her own team, "we should consider more than straightforward science. The emotional connection may play a key role in this rescue." Stepping closer to Catherine, she spoke in a subdued tone. "Would you be comfortable helping us? The dolphin seems to respond well to your presence." The girl's eyes lit up. "Of course. I'll do anything to save him." "Then this will be a team effort. Science and intuition," the biologist concluded, exchanging a glance of understanding with Ms. Constance. A coordinated flurry of activity followed. Veterinarians applied their training while the local elders, holding on to generations-old knowledge, looked on with thoughtful eyes. Even the natural world seemed to come together for the mission. The crash of the waves, the whisper of the wind, and the warmth of the late afternoon fused into an atmosphere of connection and renewal. Gradually, the dolphin showed signs of easing up and regaining trust, its fragile state yielding to a newfound determination for survival. Each careful gesture seemed like a silent prayer, turning the rescue into a celebration of life and the power to begin again, even when all hope appears lost. The beach transformed into a sacred space where science, tradition, and faith united to redirect the fate of a suffering creature. With a makeshift stretcher fashioned from a tarp, 8 volunteers gingerly hoisted the dolphin and moved it into the inflatable pool. Surprisingly heavy, the animal required every bit of their strength. Beads of sweat lined the men's brows as they carried the dolphin the short distance. Once immersed in the saltwater-filled pool, a collective sigh of relief rippled through the crowd. The effect was almost immediate. The dolphin seemed to awaken from its stupor, moving with more fluidity despite the pool's confined space. One of Dr. Tucker's assistants placed a narrow tube in the pool's side to circulate fresh ocean water, maintaining a suitable temperature and oxygen levels. Catherine knelt by the pool, her hands submerged, occasionally stroking the dolphin's sleek skin. She spoke softly, inaudible words that seemed like secrets shared only between them. Meanwhile, James joined a group of fishermen discussing which part of the coast would be best for releasing the dolphin. His knowledge of local tides and underwater terrain was vital for selecting a point where the dolphin's odds of survival would be highest. Palm Grove Beach has a gentle entry and a natural channel leading straight out to deeper water, he pointed out, sketching a rough outline in the wet sand with a small branch. The older fishermen nodded, adding their own observations about tides and local fish migrations. At the same time, Dr. Tucker oversaw the preparation of a nutritive solution to hydrate the dolphin, while the attending veterinarian, Dr. Lane, applied a protective ointment to its eyes and tracked its vital signs every 15 minutes. Its breathing is more regular, Dr. Lane announced after one check. It's responding well to stimuli. All good signs. Miss Constance had settled onto a folding beach chair someone had fetched, watching everything keenly. Around her, a few other older residents gathered. Some clutched rosaries discreetly in their palms. Others murmured old prayers taught by their parents and grandparents, blending. A patchwork of Christian faith with regional lore that had evolved in this fishing town for generations. Night had nearly fallen when someone suggested lighting bonfires around the rescue area. The dancing flames lent an almost mystical backdrop, their wavering glow casting elongated shadows and reflecting off the pool's water, where the dolphin floated more peacefully now. Dr. Tucker brought her team and key volunteers together to discuss the next steps. The plan was to monitor the dolphin for a few more hours, allowing it to recover from stress, then transfer it onto a fishing boat that would ferry it to the release site. If all goes well, we'll get him back to open waters before dawn, she explained. Traveling under the cover of night might help keep him calm during transport. Catherine refused to leave the pool's edge. Someone had wrapped a light jacket around her shoulders against the night chill, but she hardly felt the cold. So absorbed she was by her commitment to the dolphin and by the heavy responsibility settling into her heart. At one point, the dolphin made a stronger sound, an intricate pattern of clicks trailing into a melodic whistle. Catherine's eyes welled with tears, though not of sadness but of some deep, indefinable emotion. It was as if the sound plucked at a hidden chord in her being. James, coming back from discussions with the fishermen, noticed her tears. He quietly sat beside her, offering silent companionship. After a few minutes, he spoke softly. My grandpa used to say dolphins are the messengers of ancient sea spirits, that when they speak to us, it's because something important is about to change. Catherine dried her cheeks with the back of her hand. I sensed that. When I first looked into his eyes, it felt like he already knew me, as if he came here just to find me. Maybe he did, James replied, raising his gaze to the star-filled sky draping the beach in a velvety blackness dotted with diamonds. It could be part of something bigger than we realize. As the rescue progressed, the bond between Catherine and the dolphin grew, affirming that their encounter foretold change not just for this marine creature, but for the entire town. The girl's presence, though she never would have thought of it as miraculous, moved the residents to see the world with greater empathy and a sense of stewardship. The network of solidarity created that day endured beyond the rescue. Bonds among neighbors strengthened as each person carried forward the memory of how a single act of compassion turned a scene of desolation into a story of triumph. The dolphin, soon revered as a symbol of both frailty and resilience, was returned to the ocean as a testament that hope and genuine love can transform realities that once seemed hopeless. The hours merged into a vigil that merged science with faith, modern knowledge with age-old wisdom. With each passing minute, the dolphin showed clearer signs of improvement in the makeshift pool, its movements more assured, its eyes more alert, its breathing steadier. Around midnight, Dr. Tucker announced it was time to arrange transport. A fishing boat owned by Mr. Anderson, refitted with a padded canvas and stocked with extra seawater, was ready to carry the dolphin to the designated release point. Who's going along? Asked one of the fishermen as final preparations fell into place. Dr. Tucker glanced at Catherine, still kneeling at the edge of the pool, hands in the water as though tethered to the dolphin by an unbreakable bond. I think we already know, the scientist said with a gentle smile. Catherine will come with us, if that's all right with her parents, and we need a few strong volunteers to help load him." Catherine's parents, who had arrived hours earlier, torn between pride and concern, exchanged glances, then nodded. They couldn't deny her the chance to complete what she had so steadfastly begun. Carrying the dolphin from the pool to the boat was the most delicate task yet. Using the same tarp stretcher, volunteers hoisted him with utmost care. This time, the dolphin was not as passive. Its tail occasionally slapped the tarp, a hopeful sign of revived energy, but one that made the job tricky. "Talk to him, Catherine," urged Ms. Constance, who had insisted on staying despite her advanced age. "Calm him down like only you can." The girl approached the dolphin's head as if partaking in a sacred ritual. Kneeling on the damp sand, she leaned in until her lips almost brushed the animal's smooth skin. Her hair, blown free by the calm wind, formed a curtain, creating a private chamber where only she and the dolphin existed for a moment. No one could decipher her whispered words, gentle as a prayer, possibly promises or thanks, or a conversation between souls far beyond simple human speech. Some witnesses would later swear they saw a faint glow enveloping Catherine and the dolphin. Scientific minds might call it an illusion caused by the moonlight glinting off the water coating the dolphin's body. Yet the immediate effect was unmistakable and undeniable. As though an unspoken pact had been forged between two species, the dolphin stilled entirely. Its body relaxed, no longer trembling with fear. Its watchful eyes exuded calm trust, as if it clearly understood each step taken, the boat's purpose, and the promise of freedom lying beyond the shoreline. Without further struggle, it let itself be carried to the boat and placed with infinite care into its specially prepared spot, almost as if it knowingly welcomed whatever awaited in the depths beyond the horizon. The small group bound for the dolphin's release boarded. Dr. Tucker, one of her assistants, the vet, Catherine James, who knew these waters like the back of his hand, and two seasoned fishermen to operate the boat. The rest of the community stayed on the shore, awaiting their return with mingled hope and faith. The boat engine purred softly in the dark, and they left the beach behind. Catherine sat beside the dolphin, one hand always touching it, as the craft sliced through black waves toward the designated spot. The gentle rocking of the boat and the occasional spray of salt water didn't faze her. She was lost in the deep connection she shared with the dolphin. After about 40 minutes, they reached the channel that led to deeper water. Dr. Tucker performed a final examination of their passenger. "He's ready," she said, her voice betraying emotion rarely heard from someone of her professional discipline. "It's time to say goodbye, Catherine." The girl looked at the dolphin with tear-filled eyes, but there was no sadness in her heart, rather a sense of completion that was difficult to articulate, a feeling that something within her had found resolution in this remarkable encounter. "You know what to do," James quietly reminded her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Trust what you feel." The fishermen maneuvered the boat so the side holding the dolphin was closest to the water. They arranged the tarp into a soft ramp, letting the dolphin slide gently back into the ocean. Leaning over, Catherine stroked the dolphin's slick skin one last time. "Swim safe," she whispered, "and thank you for finding me." In what seemed like a direct response, the dolphin produced another sequence of clicks and whistles, tones that felt as though carrying a message comprehensible only to her. Then, in a flash of grace belying how close it had come to death, the dolphin glided down the improvised ramp and vanished into the dark waters. No one breathed for several seconds. All eyes were fixed on the spot where it had disappeared. Then, as if granting them a final blessing, the dolphin re-emerged a short distance away, silhouetted against the moon's shimmering path across the sea. It rose almost vertically in the water, as if in a playful salute before diving again, for good this time, into the boundless ocean. "It's a miracle," whispered one of the fishermen, crossing himself. "A true miracle." Dr. Tucker, a scientist through and through, didn't argue. Some things in this universe defy neat explanation. Events in which visible and invisible forces converge in a harmonious dance that can only be called miraculous. In the aftermath of that night, The transformative energy of the event touched the town itself. Moved by the miracle they had witnessed, people began valuing every living creature, recognizing that all corners of nature are connected. The image of the girl who bravely saved a suffering animal became a lasting symbol, a reminder that empathy and compassion can heal more than just physical wounds. The story of Catherine and her stranded dolphin rose into a modern legend, a tale whispered across generations, renewing faith in the power of the human heart. And so the narrative closed with the certainty that even in the darkest hours, the light of compassion can spark miracles, changing the fate of those who dare to care. The boat's return to the beach was met with applause and hugs. The successful news of the release had already spread, and despite the late hour, more people had arrived, drawn by the extraordinary story that was passing from one person to another. In the days that followed, something subtle yet profound began to shift in that little coastal town. The saga of the stranded dolphin and its near-miraculous rescue was the talk of every conversation. But it wasn't just an interesting tale. It held a lesson that resonated in every resident's heart, a message that exceeded the details of the event itself. Traditionally sustained by fishing and seasonal tourism, the town began developing a sharper environmental awareness. Volunteers organized regular beach cleanups, collecting plastic and other debris harmful to marine life. Fishermen embraced more sustainable practices, observing breeding seasons and steering clear of fragile ecosystems. Dr. Tucker, moved by what she had witnessed, decided to create a small research and marine conservation center with help from the state university and local businesses. Its first initiative was an education program in local schools, teaching children and teens the significance of safeguarding the oceans and their inhabitants. Catherine emerged as a figurehead for these efforts. Her bond with the dolphin inspired other kids to open their hearts to the sea and its creatures. Though she never sought recognition, she became the face of a communal transformation, bearing the unexpected weight of a new legacy. James, with his abiding respect for tradition and the natural world, acted as a bridge between Dr. Tucker's scientific approach and the inherited wisdom of the older fishermen. Together, they showed that modern research and old folklore could unite in striving for a harmonious relationship between people and the ocean. Ms. Constance, in her gatherings with local children, folded the dolphin story into the oral traditions. She safeguarded. In her retelling, the dolphin was a herald of the powers in the deep, returned to remind humankind of our duty as guardians and not owners of nature. "The sea gives us life," she would say, perched under a sprawling oak in the town square, surrounded by wide-eyed children. "But we must repay it with respect and care. That's what the dolphin came to teach us through young Catherine." About 6 months after the incident, an astonishing phenomenon occurred. Fishermen started spotting a notably friendly dolphin close to shore, a dolphin that often drew near to boats and swimmers, exhibiting only curiosity and calm. Many believed it was the same one Catherine had rescued, returning not as a victim, but as a silent sentinel, a living thread connecting the human world to the mysterious ocean depths. When Catherine heard these stories, she smiled softly. Whether or not it was the same animal didn't matter. What mattered was the message that still resonated through its presence, a never-ending reminder that all life forms are linked in an invisible but powerful web, and that every act of kindness echoes far beyond its immediate reach. One especially clear afternoon, she revisited the beach where it had all begun. Sitting on the sand, gazing at the horizon where sky merged with water, she felt a peacefulness that seemed to well up from the core of her being. The breeze brushed her face like a longtime friend, carrying with it the briny aroma of seaweed, a smell that now reminded her not only of the ocean, but also of the profound changes she had witnessed in her town and in herself. In the distance, a small glint on the water caught her eye. For one fleeting second, she glimpsed a gray, graceful shape vault above the waves in a perfect arc, then vanish again. Her heart gave a little jolt of recognition, but no proof was needed. The message was already etched in her heart, and in the soul of that shoreside community. Even in the darkest times, when all hope seems lost and the fight appears pointless, the miracle of compassion can light the way. One simple act of care can spark a chain of transformations, like ripples expanding in water, reaching hearts and places we might never have imagined. And so the tale of the stranded dolphin and the girl who saved him would be told for generations. No mere account of an animal rescue, but a testament to the transformative power of empathy and the deep connection uniting every living being that calls this blue planet home.